everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown. And this is, what day is this? October 10th, 2023. It's just a few days after the horrific attack in Israel by Hamas. And we're still in shock over that. So um, it was just absolutely horrific. Uh, and on the heels of this horrific attack, I've had a lot of people ask me, should I cancel all my plans? Should I not go anyplace? Should I not travel? Because I'm terrified of terrorism, for good reason. And I've been doing, people have been asking me to do a series on safety and travel because I do travel a lot. You can see me here. And I've experienced quite a few interesting things. And so I'm going to share some of those with you today. And I'm going to talk about travel and terrorism because there's no way you can ever say terrorism will not happen to you when you're traveling, or even when you're at home, for that matter. I'm sure at 9/11, there were some people from other countries visiting in New York City, thinking, "Oh my gosh, we're going to go up this tall building and we're going to look out at the great view of New York." That was not something they expected. It was not something Americans expected because we aren't even on a border of a country we're worried about. We never saw that coming, and yet it did. So it can happen at home, and it can happen when you're traveling. And there's no country I can say is absolutely 100% safe from terrorism, although there are those countries which are more likely to be targets of terrorism from outside and from within. So this is what I want to talk about. When you travel, you have to want to travel, and you have to look at the risks that you're going to deal with and decide if they're worth it to you. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. And before I get started with my personal experiences with that, I do want to say this recent attack, which was just horrific. What happened was where it started was in the desert. There was a rave called the Tribe of Nova. They go around the world and they have these raves, and the raves are about peace and love. People walk around doing this in their camp, hey, love, and they're mostly young people in the 60s and 70s. We would have called them hippies, but they're young people who want to go to this rave. They want to dance. They want to dress all up in all kinds of wild colors and put dreads in their hair. And some of them do mushrooms, and they get into the music and they're high and all that stuff. But theoretically, it's a safe place to express this kind of love for your fellow man, hugs and all of this. And matter of fact, it was such a festival of love and peace that they didn't want any guns on the property. They had zero security. And they were right on the Gaza border. And I'm going to say a lot of the young people here were like pro-Palestine. They're like, hey, let's all get along. And all we need to do is chat. They did not understand the reality of terrorism, okay? Because terrorists do not care if you like them. They don't even care if you're on their side. They care about what people are going to see, how the media is going to handle this. This is their way of making their point and getting attention. And so you cannot just say, oh, just because I'm a nice person, this is not going to happen to me because I want love and everything, all that. And we're a whole big group pushing peace. That's not going to save you. They don't care. Terrorists do not care. So when Hamas attacked these hundreds of these kids got killed in the desert, running, terrified from these some places call them militants. Some media calls them militants. They're terrorists. Hamas is a terrorist group. They've controlled Gaza, unfortunately. And for all the negotiating one can do, they're still terrorists. And you never negotiate with terrorists, in my opinion. But they're terrorists, and they committed an act of war against Israel. Now they say, oh, this blossomed into war. No, it didn't blossom. It was an attack. It was an actual act of war against Israel through terroristic methodologies, attacking civilians, the most innocent of the innocent. They came over. They went after these kids in the desert partying, and they shot them down. They kidnapped them, and they also went into houses and killed families and killed elderly and took hostages. It was absolutely horrific violation of the Geneva Convention of any kind of war. All right, and I think one of the things that has been kind of stuck in a lot of people's brains. And I'm not showing this video, but this young girl called Noah. She's one of those kids that was out here running, and they grabbed her, and she's screaming out to the cameras, don't kill me, don't kill me. And that's the last she was seen. And it's hard not to look at that and be highly affected by it. And do I think she's alive? Chances are not good. Unfortunately, when they're capturing young women, they're not just killing them, shall I say. And so it's absolutely horrific. And so, on the heels of this, people are saying to me, should I cancel my plans here? Shall I cancel my plans there? What should I do? Obviously going to Israel right now is probably not a wise thing, and they've canceled all flights. So you're not going there anyway at the moment. But what about other places in the world that you might like to, you've made your plans and you're thinking of going, or you've got family in these places and you want to go home. But, when you see a terrorist attack like this, it strikes you so hard in the heart, and it's so vivid that fear sets in really quickly. And then we say, oh my God, I can't leave my house. After 9/11, one of my friends was terrified. She said, I'm not getting on a plane. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just hiding in my house. And she did. And she got cancer, and she died of cancer, and she never left her house. So the question is, how long do we live in fear? And on the other hand, how can we have to be realistic. I mean, if we're going to go out there, we want to be safe as we can be. At least we want to know what the risks are and what I might experience when I go places. I'm going to share a few experiences of my own in travel, because I have run into terrorism in some interesting ways. And so I want to share those with you. First of all, I want to talk about Egypt. Now, I've been to Egypt twice. I went to Egypt for first time for a Discovery Channel. I did a show called Mysterious Death of Cleopatra. But we had what's called a fixer when we were there. And the fixer arranged everything, and we had guards. And so even though we were foreigners and there were some issues of terrorism, we were pretty well protected. So that was a fairly safe feeling trip. I went back by myself. And I was always wearing hijab. I was wearing hijabi when I was over there. I dressed appropriately for Egypt, and respected the culture. And also some Egyptians did not know I wasn't Egyptian. I was lighter skinned, but they thought, who knows, I may have been living in Egypt for a long time. I may have come from some Mediterranean country or whatever. And it helped me, killed off 95% of harassment. And so I got along very well there, and I had some good Egyptian friends to work with. But did I totally feel safe? And the answer to that is not entirely, because tourists have been targets in Egypt before. Let me read one to you. The worst attack in Egypt that ever happened was in 1997. 6 gunmen entered a temple in Luxor. Luxor is like if you're up here in Cairo and you see the pyramids, you go down south, about halfway down the country, there's a place called Luxor, and they have temples, gorgeous temples. And these tourists went there, and 30 minutes, there were 30 minutes, these six gunmen went into the temple, and for 30 minutes, they methodically shot and knifed tourists trapped inside the temple alcoves. They were all trying to hide. 58 foreign tourists, most of them French, were murdered, along with 3 Egyptian police officers and 1 Egyptian tour guide. And then they commandeered a tour bus, and they fled the scene. And they finally got them, the Egyptian security forces. But this was a tour to Egypt, and they thought they were safe. They had actually there were some policemen around, but it didn't. This was a terrorist attack, horrific. My daughter and I went down to Luxor. We were down there, but we were going across the river there to see some other temples, and the way to do that was take this boat across just barely dawn, and then you got in a van and went out to this place. And as we were riding along in the van, we were the only Americans, and 2 of us. And just my daughter there. And so we're in the van, and there's a guy with a very big video camera. My daughter kind of leans over and goes, does this look like maybe not a good idea to you? Like, we're going into the desert with a guy with a video camera. Does this mean we're going to be beheaded, and, this is going to be a video made of it? And I'm like, well, I surely hope not. And luckily for us, this guy was filming a balloon launch, and all was good. I mean, they were lovely people, and we went about our way. But, I was aware of terrorism that had been in Egypt. And also, you never know when things break out. I actually left a couple days before the revolution started, and I had a hotel right in Tahrir Square, and it was weird because I was walking around Tahrir Square eating ice cream and having a pleasant time. Returned home, and I was in CNN like a couple days later in the green room, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching on television this huge mob in Tahrir Square and all this fighting going on. I'm like, oh my gosh, the revolution has started. I didn't even know there was going to be a revolution. Missed it by 2 days. So I didn't get stuck in Egypt for a long time because they canceled all flights. And so this is like, how safe do I feel in Egypt? Would I be comfortable returning? And I have to say, it's not one of the most comfortable places that I've ever been to, especially when you leave you can go, like, the pyramids seem to be fairly highly protected, but there are other areas when you're going into where there's a lot of discontent due to extreme poverty, and there's certain elements there, certain groups, terrorist cells. And so it's a little shaky. And you got to think, now, can you take a beautiful ride down the Nile and see all these lovely things? You can. And for most people, you're fine. But the element of danger does exist. Now I want to talk about India, because I love India. Been there 5 times. Here I am at the Taj. Here I am. I did I was a speaker at this convention, this conference, and I was all day speaker here in Delhi. And here I am down in South India, hanging out with some lovely people. I love India 5 times. Now, my son went there in 2008. I sent him there to go to the University of Madras in Chennai. And so it got to be spring, their spring. It was like May. And he said to me, he said, Ma, it's our summer vacation. I'm going up to Jaipur, which is in a little bit different area of India and Rajasthan. I'm going to Jaipur. I'm going to do some volunteer work with children for my summer vacation, but I have some time before that starts. I know you love India. Would you like to come and hang out with me? I'm like, you don't have any money, right? He's like, well, yeah, that too. And so I flew over, and we got together in Chennai. We went to all kinds of places. We went to Bangalore. We went to Mysore. We went to Mumbai. We're doing all kinds of different locations. We also went to Kashmir. Now, Kashmir is still India, although some of Kashmiris say it is not. It should be Pakistan. And so there's a lot of problems there, and therefore you have a lot of army people there. You can see my son with the guys with the guns. And we went there, and we had a nice time, but there was always a kind of concerns, like, is this entirely safe? Because we knew there were issues there. But we survived that, and we had a good time. And then we went to Delhi, and this was my final stop, and he was going on to Jaipur. He was going to Jaipur to be with these children, you see. Okay, so we're in Delhi, and the next day he's going to Jaipur. I'm flying home. And I said to him, Dave, I know you've been traveling for a while, and you're probably fed up with tourist stuff. We've done so many tourist sites. But when you arrive in Jaipur, you're going to be working with children, and you're not going to have a lot of time to, do the tourist thing. So since you're there a couple of days just hanging out in the city, take just a few hours and go see some of the best sites of Jaipur, because there's some gorgeous things there that you must go see. I said, can you promise me that? He said, I promise, Mom. And so I left, I flew home, and I was in the nail parlor. And I remember this so clearly, because I was in the nail parlor, getting my nails done. Glance up, I think it was like the new news or whatever it was. And on the screen, it said, terrorist attack in India. And it had this picture on the screen with a bullseye, and the bullseye was on Jaipur, which is where he was, where he had just gone to. And they said, I think it was nine bicycle bombs exploded in Jaipur, in the tourist district. There are at least 70 some deaths. And that's where I sent him. I told him to go to the tourist district and check these things out. So at the time he would be in the tourist district, when I told him to go, that's when the bombs went off. The bicycle bombs, and all these people, and at least 70 dead. They didn't know, many injured. They didn't know what was going on. So of course I tell the lady, give me my hands back, and I'm texting him, and I get nothing. And I call him, and he does not answer the phone. And I call him again, he does not answer the phone. I call him again, he does not answer the phone. And now I'm having a panic attack. I've sent my son to the spot that ended up being a terrorist attack. And finally, she answers the phone. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, you're alive. And he goes, yes, I'm okay. I'm okay. And I said, where are you now? He says, we're in lockdown. We're in lockdown. I said, okay. I said, well, were you there when the bombs went off? And he said, well, no, I was in my room just playing video games. And I was like, for the first time in my life, thank God you didn't listen to your mother. Thank God you just ignored me entirely. He never did see any of those things in Jaipur. One time, I don't care, And so he survived because he didn't listen to me. And then he went on to have this lovely time, working with the children and all of that. And he had a very good time in Jaipur. And he came home in one piece. And interesting enough, in 2008, it was a bad year in India because this occurred in May. And we had also been in two other spots in India. We had been in Delhi in a place called Connaught Place, which is all the shopping is done. And there was later a bomb blast in Connaught Place. I think it was September. Let me see if I can find it. September in Connaught Place, the Delhi bombings. And then we were also in Mumbai, and some of the exact locations where those bombs went off in November, that huge bomb attack that happened there. That was Lakshya Toba. That was the group. They're the ones who think that Kashmir should be Pakistan and not India. So they're called Lakshya Toba. Lakshya Toba. I'm getting that wrong now. Lakshya Toba. Sorry. Lakshya Toba. Not that I care that I pronounce their name exactly right, because I don't like them. But anyway, Lakshya Toba. I'm just having trouble with that. Anyway, the ones that hit Jaipur was the Indian Mujahideen. That was a different group, although they're also hooked up with Bangladesh, the Bangladesh terrorism, and Lakshya Toba. The Delhi ones, the Delhi ones were also in India Mujahideen, and then Mumbai was definitely, they rolled over from Pakistan in boats, and that was Lakshya Toba. So lots of problems, and there's a lot of these attacks around India, and we were in those two places as well. We could have, if we'd been there on the right day, it would have happened to us. However, we were not there that day. And so the question is, would I go back to India when I know that there's a reasonable amount of terrorist attacks that do occur around the country? But it's a very, very large country with many, many people. So your chances are still minuscule that you're going to be the ones caught up in an attack. Other places I would prefer not to be in India, yes. And there are places I feel safer in India. But again, you never know where somebody like that, those kind of groups will attack. So when you are in countries which have ongoing issues with certain groups, the risk level is obviously going to be higher. And I would say that is true for India. It's definitely true for Pakistan. I had a friend who was going to go. He's from a religious group in Pakistan that other Islamic groups do not like. And he was inviting me to his wedding. But then he said, oh my God, you're American. You could be a target. I said, well, yeah, but they keep blowing up your mosques. So, I mean, I think I got a double target on my back. And he goes, yeah, that's true. So there's that issue depending on who you are and where you stay in each one of these countries. And so there are more safe places and there are less safe places. And the best you can possibly do is look at where action is happening in those countries. If you're going to go there, where you see things breaking out or where there are a lot of ruffled feathers, you want to call them that. But are you ever entirely safe? No. And even if you're in a country where you think nothing could happen, you never know. Now, a lot of countries, there is not really a terrorist issue, so it becomes a safety issue for other reasons, and I'll do another video on that. But definitely there are places where the risk level is higher due to terrorism, and you have to decide how much you love being in that country or want to visit that country to take the risk that terrorism might pose to you. And then like here, but if you go back to the horrible attacks, which happened with this group. It was a terrible location. If it had been in South Israel, it would make a whole lot more sense. But to put it right on the border of Gaza was stupid. And I don't know why they did that. I think they were trying to reach out to say, we love you too. It is a dumb idea, okay? Because you have to understand, terrorists are terrorists. They don't care. And the more you make yourself vulnerable, the more likely you're going to be a target. Generally speaking, I prefer to blend in with the general population. Now, mind you, my son was in Jaipur. It wouldn't have made any difference because there were Indians that were blown up in Jaipur. So that wouldn't have worked. In Mumbai, they specifically targeted the large Oberoi Hotel and a cafe where a lot of expats would hang out. They wanted to target foreigners in that case. And in the case in Egypt, when they hit up Luxor and killed all the tourists from France, again, they wanted to hit the tourists. If you're just, when I went down to, let's see, where did I go? I'm blanking on the name, but my daughter and I wanted to go further south. I forgot the name of the beautiful place there. Anyway, it's out of my head. Anyway, we could have taken a van with tourists, but we chose to take local transport. And we got on, instead of going in the night with all these vans going down there, we chose to go to the bus stand and get on a bus, a regular bus. And they only allowed like 7 tourists on the bus of all the people on the bus. And we got on there, and then we rode for a while, for a couple hours, and we got out and had tea, and then we rode the rest of the way, and we arrived there, and therefore we were not with a group of tourists, and I felt safer doing that. So that was my preference and my daughter's preference. So there's different ways to avoid being part of such a group that you would be a target. But you have to look at that. I mean, on one hand, some people feel safer because they are with a group, and it depends on how much security you have, and depends on what country you are. Are you worrying about robbery? Are you worrying about cartels? Are you worrying about terrorism? Which is it? And so you'll have to look at that and decide for yourself where you feel safe. And I've been to India 5 times. I've been all over. I've taken trains. I've taken buses. I've hired cars. I've been with many Indian friends. I've traveled with just a few people alone. I've done this in so many ways. And I have never felt unsafe in India. But then again, my son almost got blown up in Jaipur. So you see how that works. You never quite know. And so whenever you see things going amiss in the world, you just might want to step back and just examine. Here's something you want to examine. How badly do I want to go there? Okay. Just to be realistic, there are places in the world I prefer not to go to right now. And I look around, I say, Iran is probably off my list. So is Iraq. I personally don't want to go to Saudi Arabia either. I'm just not fond of this stuff. So I'm going to say to myself, are there other places in the world I could go to, which I've never seen? Oh, well, yeah, there's a ton of other countries. Haven't been to Australia. I haven't been to New Zealand. I haven't been to some of the islands of the Caribbean. I want to go to Trinidad. I haven't been to South America. I've been all over Central America. I've never been to South America. I want to go to Colombia. There's places I want to go in the world that I may feel at the moment are not as high risk for terrorism. And I'm like, if I've got enough choices, let me pick the non-terrorist place. Now, just as an ending to this, I just want to share this with you, because you never know. Life is like that. You never know. And I was in Hawaii. This is not a terrorist attack, but this was what appeared to be an act of war by North Korea. And I was one of those. I have the shirt on right now. I'll see if I can lift it up. I survived the ballistic missile day, and this was January. What is that? I can't read my own thing here. Sorry, January 13th, 2008. Was it 18? 18. 2018. I was in Oahu, staying at a Airbnb. It was kind of more like a hostel thing. And my friend, early morning, my friend hit me on the shoulder and she said, Pat, what is this? And she handed me her phone. I looked at it and said, incoming missile from North Korea. This is not a drill. Beep, beep, beep. And then you could hear the TV going off. Beep, beep, beep. Incoming missile. We had I forgot how many minutes we had to live. 15 maybe. And the owner of the place burst into our room in tears. You could hear his kids crying. You could hear the television going off. Take cover, take cover. And I'm thinking, really? Um, so my friend is over there. She's texting her children, I love you. I love you. So I love you so much. And I was being a profiler. I was Googling because I'm figuring if there's an incoming missile from Korea, there should be something on Google, and I couldn't find anything. So I thought to myself, is this some kind of something not right about this? Is this not really happening? Is this so? After a period of time went by and we weren't dead, and people were like, they were freaking out all over the island. I mean, they were pulling out manhole covers and going down into the ground. I mean, they're trying to protect themselves from what they considered an incoming missile, and they thought they were going to die. And I really thought, yeah, maybe I got 15 minutes. And I had this weird dead calm, which was kind of strange. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's because I didn't see anything on Google and I'm a kind of a logic person. It's like, if I can't see it here, maybe it's not so, or whether I just accepted it. But then finally it came in that it was not, no, this was not true, that some person who had controls of sending out these messages on Oahu, some crazy person, some psycho, sent this message out. And they've always kind of buried why this happened. I don't know why it did happen, but they buried it. I think it was done on purpose. I think it was a political statement, in my opinion. But they kind of buried it because they said the guy was just a kook. But how he got away with it was hard to understand how it could have gone through. But it was not real. But it came in as real, and the government was telling us this is not a drill. This is really happening. And then it didn't happen. So we survived. But, you never think of Hawaii as being a target. I never thought of that. I didn't think of terrorism in Hawaii. But no, we had incoming missiles from North Korea because we're closer to North Korea and Hawaii than you would be on the mainland. So life is like that. Life is fragile. Life is something you live, and you just never know what's going to happen the next day. And so for me, no, I will not curtail my travel because there are terrorists in the world. I also don't want to stay home and hide because there are terrorists in the world. I mean, who knows? Who knows what happens tomorrow? This whole thing blowing up there in Israel and with Gaza, who knows? I mean, people are talking about World War III. I hope it's not true. But all you can do is be with your friends, be with your family, love them, live life. And if you have travel plans, you can always decide what's a better choice right now for you. What choice will make you feel most comfortable, and you still get to enjoy something you've never experienced before. There's so many, this world is a huge place, so many places to go. And there's no place that's 100% safe. And it could be not for terrorist reasons. It could be for other reasons. It could be their transportation system, or it could be their weather. I mean, Maui burned up. I mean, what a mess. What a mess. Horrible fires. I mean, there can be earthquakes where you go. So it's not like you're 100% safe. Even at home, you're not 100% safe. You just drive out of your driveway and you get hit by a drunk driver. There you go. Or a tornado comes through, or who knows? Weirdest things happen. A tree branch flies off and hits you in the head. Life isn't safe. Life is an adventure. Please look at it that way, but do be smart about your adventures. You don't have to be an idiot. It's like, well, I think I'll roll over to Afghanistan right now. Maybe not. Maybe it's not overly safe because I just had a massive earthquake, but also because things aren't exactly politically stable there right now. Who are you to go over there right now and take that chance? Well, if you have work there, you got family there, or you've got some kind of obsession with it, bully for you. But you might want to think, maybe I could make another choice. Maybe I'll pick a different place. Maybe in 10 years, this will be a place to go to. And maybe I'll still be around to say, hey, now I want to go see that place. Nothing has to be done this year, this month. You can, as long as you're living life well, you can live life well at home. You can live life well traveling. Just make your choices. Just be smart, okay? And also accept that there's always a risk. Always a risk. There's no way to ever get around, just 100% no risk. That doesn't happen in life. So I'm glad I went to India many times. I'm glad I went to Egypt. I'm glad I went to so many places. But there are certain places right now I do not choose to go to. I just don't. I say to myself, maybe not. Maybe I'll pick a different place. So I'm not sure where I'm heading to this winter, but I'm pretty sure It might not be Israel, and it might not be certain places with real bad border problems. Okay, I might pick some place a little bit that's been a little bit quieter, and hope it stays that way. So anyway, those are my thoughts. And again, to the people in Israel. Well, I clicked on that too quickly. I just wanted to say to the people who are in Israel and to the people in Gaza who cannot seem to do much about Hamas, my thoughts are with you. My prayers are with you. And I hope all of this ends. And I hope, those people who went to the festival, I hope they get the love and peace that they wish they could have had that day. Bye-bye, everybody.